All praise to the Most High, Ahia, and to his son, Yasha, the Messiah. Alleluia. This is Brother Holly here with the first Spirit of Truth broadcast here on the Ahia House channel, as well as the House of Ahia channel on this set apart Shabbat day. First and foremost, as always, I'd like to give all glory, praise, and honor to the great I am, he who is, was, and is to come, the Almighty One. Alleluia. And to his son, Yasha Messiah, who gave himself for us that we might have life, and that life is in him. Alleluia. Now, first and foremost, please forgive the motion blur of the camera. Please forgive the ambiance, if you will, the darkness. It is pitch black and pouring rain outside. We were just under a tornado warning here in my part of Central Florida where I'm living, but that tornado warning has passed. But there's still thunderstorms, lightning, heavy rain. Yeah, you see the flashes. So be of good courage, children. We're just going to keep on trooping through. We're not going to let any of these things stop us from our assignment to preach and teach the good news found in the scriptures, to elevate the wisdom, understanding, and edification of the children of Yasharallah in these last days. Alleluia. As we wait for the coming of our Master and our Savior, Yasha Messiah. All praises. We'll be reading today from the Learn Pillar, Hebrew Torah, Lashawan QADASH, Holy Tongue, Yashahai Bible Scriptures. And we're reading from the Yashahai Scriptures today because it's large print and it's awfully dark in this room. If I turn the light on, it's too much glare. So thank you for your patience and understanding as we just trooper through. We haven't thrown out the Abba Father, Ahia, Yeshaya, English Bible. No, we haven't thrown it out at all. The print's just too small, and it'll just take too long to cover this topic. And the topic for the first broadcast is temperance, or being self-controlled. Many years ago, Brother Holly ministered on and as I put it back then, the power triplets that lead to being an overcomer. And when I'm talking about the attributes of temperance, of self-control, patience, and contentment. Now, I dare say that there's only a handful of us that have ever heard even one sermon or one teaching on any one of those three subjects in our entire life. So suffice it to say that, and there's a reason for that we'll get to in a moment. And why I believe it happens is that this particular subject, preaching about being self-controlled, so many people just throw it out, saying it can't be done. It's just like when you preach about ceasing from sin, they say it can't be done. I'm just an old sinner saved by grace. That kind of mentality. Even some people in the Hebraic faith have carried over these damnable heresies from Constantine Christianity. But I'm here to stir up your pure mind by way of remembrance, and we'll be reading that scripture as well. And we're going to continue on the topic of temperance, patience, and contentment and make it three separate broadcasts. I think that each one deserves ample examination from the scriptures so that you can refer to these teachings in the future, for how it wills it to be so, that we all live in his son Terry, that we can all come back and refer to these from time to time to renew our minds to the importance of these three attributes and how we need to cultivate them and have them vibrant and alive in our walks here on the earth until the coming of Messiah. Yasha. All praises. Turn with me, if you will. We got a lot of scriptures to go over. Turn with me, if you will, to 1 Corinthians chapter 9. Let's start reading at verse 24. It says, know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receives the prize. So run that ye may obtain. Will you highlight that? What a great exhortation. We are all running a race here. And it talks about in the book of Philippians that we're to run the race, understand that the high prize is the knowledge of Yeshua Messiah. We're to run our race, we're to finish our course, that we might inherit eternal life. It says everybody's running the race, but everybody's going to run it to win it. We're being told here in the scriptures to run the race of our life in a way that we obtain the prize. Let's read it one more time. 1 Corinthians 9:24. Know ye not that they that run in a race run all, but one receives the prize. Ain't gonna be one winner. So run that you might obtain. Run like you want to win. And the Apostle Paul, by the Spirit of Ahai, is going to tell you how to do that. Verse 25. And every man that strives for mastery is temperate or self-controlled in all things. Will you highlight? See, if you want to run the race in order to win, you're going to have to operate in a high levels of self-control. And this high level of self-control or temperance has to permeate every area of your life. You got to be self-controlled in your actions, self-controlled in your thoughts, self-controlled in your words, self-controlled in every facet of life. There can be no place in your existence where you operate unrestrained. You don't get to be lawless and receive the kingdom. See, a person without restraint that is living by their own wits. A person without restraint is living contrary to the law, statutes, commandments, judgments, or its precepts. A person without restraint is living contrary to the Most High's way, word, and will. And a person without restraint will not be constrained when the Most High speaks to them by voice and tells them to follow his voice, to obey him. They'll say, I ain't doing nothing you say do. Why? Because they don't have restraint. They do what they want. They follow the satanic Bible. It says, do as you will should be the fullness of the law. Wow. But what are we to do? Let's read it again. 1 Corinthians 9:25. And every man that strives for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown. They do it for a gold medal. But we an incorruptible. You highlight. See, we're temperate in everything we do. We're temperate in our words. We're temperate in our actions. We're temperate in our thoughts. Every facet of which we will be judged. You're going to be judged by what you were thinking. You're going to be judged by what you said. And you're going to be judged by what you did. So you and I, because it's very individualized. When I say you, I ain't just talking to you. I'm talking to me too. So you and I need to understand that if we're going to obtain the incorruptible crown of eternal life, we must be temperate or self-controlled in every facet of life. You don't get to take a day off with this. I don't get to take a day off with this. Never, ever do you get to take a day off. And you can't fake it. Oh, you can fake it in front of me, but I ain't the one who will judge you in the last day. You can't fake in front of Ahai. You can't fake in front of Yeshua. They'll know if you're operating in self-control because he sees you every moment, every minute of your life. He sees me every moment, every minute of my life. He sees me when you don't. And he sees you when I don't. So you can fake in front of me. I can fake it in front of you. We can't fake in front of him. If you want to receive the incorruptible crown of the everlasting life, I must be temperate in all things. Let's read it one more time. 1 Corinthians 9:25, and every man that strives for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible. If therefore so run, not as uncertainty. Salakia. Verse 26, I therefore so run, not as uncertainty, so fight I, not as one that beats the air. We highlight, Paul said, I ain't shadow boxing. I ain't shadow boxing with this. I know what direction I'm running in. I ain't shadow boxing. I'm fighting. I'm running. I'll read it again. I therefore so run, not as uncertainty. I know where I'm going. So fight I, not as one that beats the air. I'm not shadow boxing. What you doing, Paul? Verse 27, 1 Corinthians 9:27. But I keep under my body. Will you highlight? You're not going to be temperate if you don't have control of your body. You're not going to be temperate or self-controlled if you don't have any control over your thoughts, words, and deeds. You need a body to carry all that out. You need a body to carry out your deeds. You need a body to carry out your words. You need a body to enclose your mind and into whom you can have your thoughts. You need a body. And that body has to be kept. My body has to be kept under. Your body has to be kept under. And Paul's going to let you know why here in a moment. Going to let us all know. Verse 27 again. But I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. Will you highlight and underline that word castaway? Because we're going to see Yeshua talking about the castaway in a moment. It's going to use the same word, castaway, in the same thought being communicated. He going to say, what profit do you gain the whole world and be a castaway? Paul said it like this, I preach to others. It's of no consequence that I preach to others and I myself a castaway. How to avoid being a castaway, Brother Paul? He said he told you, keep your body under subjection. Don't let your thoughts, words, or deeds get out from under subjection. I don't get to lie and say, the devil made me do it. That's the biggest lie people ever told. Or one of the biggest lies. The devil made me. No, he didn't. He may have tempted you to do it. He didn't make you do it. You had a choice. You could go with the temptation or you could develop some self-control, some temperance. Temperance will keep you out of trouble. Temperance will keep you on the straight and narrow. And the Apostle Paul, whom we all trust, is going to demonstrate how this is carried out. How keeping the body under is carried out. How keeping yourself in subjection, keeping your body in subjection is carried out. Let's see it. Staying in 1 Corinthians. Let's turn on 1 Corinthians chapter 15. 1 Corinthians 15, start reading at verse 30. He asks a question. And why stand we in jeopardy every hour? So put a little asterisk or something, whatever you put, by that question. Great response to all those who believe, and once saved, always saved. if that's the message that Paul was preaching, once saved, always saved, what is he talking about here? How are we in jeopardy every hour? For all those who believe in unjustified eternal security. Well, I say unjustified eternal security. So you endure to the end, you shall be saved. That's eternal security, enduring to the end. It's not justified if you don't do that. The Constantine Christians preach a form of eternal security. You pray a little simple prayer, shake somebody's hand, join their fellowship, and agree to finance or bankroll them with your hard-earned living. And here at the highest house and house high, we'll never ask you for a dime, as we always say. Here, the rebukes are free of charge. We stand, as the great apostle Paul, we stand in jeopardy every hour. We're not going to give you no song and dance over here. We're going to tell you, you're standing in jeopardy every hour. Same as we are. Same as I am. We're all standing in jeopardy every hour. We all are having our actions, our words, and our thoughts judged on the regular. And the great apostle Paul is going to tell us how to keep our body under. He's going to tell us how to operate in temperance. He's about to give it away right here. Let's read it one more time. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 30. And why stand we in jeopardy every hour? I protest by your rejoicing. See, he's mad at them for rejoicing. He said, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm in jeopardy every hour. I don't know what you're so happy about. Which I have in Messiah. Yasha, our master. I die daily. I'll read it again. I protest by your rejoicing, which I have in Messiah Yasha, our master. I die daily. Remember I told you to underline castaway? Now he's speaking about Yeshua Messiah. And Yeshua is going to tell us over in Luke how this dying daily is carried out. And we're going to see Paul in Galatians, the book of Galatians, and in Colossians, talk about the very same thing. So let's go over to Luke chapter 9. I'll read this one more time. 1 Corinthians 15, 30 and 31. And why stand we in jeopardy every hour? I protest by your rejoicing, which I have in Messiah, Yeshua, our master. I die daily. How often Paul die? Every day. See, this ain't a one and done. This ain't a one and done. What the righteousness you did yesterday was good for yesterday. You have to have it renewed on a regular basis every moment of every day. Temperance, being self-controlled. You're running a race, child. The race ain't over until your life's over. You're to run this race for mastery. You're to master this thing. You're to win the prize. You're not going to do it unless you're temperate, unless you're self-controlled. Turn me to Luke chapter 9. We're going to pick up Yeshua. We're going to pick up at the saying of Yeshua about who's going to reject him. And here's a little something, here's a little tidbit again for all those who say that the Jews rejected him. No, they didn't. And you know, and I know, and all of us in the Hebraic faith know that the Jews only comprise about a quarter of all the children of Yasharallah. The Jews only comprise the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, and the priesthood and temple workers of Levi. That's all the people who are referred to biblically as Jews. Well, what about the rest of the tribes? What about the 10 tribes, the northern kingdom? They're never referred to as Jews. And then did not all Jews reject him? He tells you who rejected him. Now, this ain't ourselves. We're talking about temperance. We're talking about dying daily. We're talking about how to maintain a temperate life. But it's an aside, but it's an important aside. But again, it answers a question that is thrown out at us all the time. Luke chapter 9, verse 22, it says, saying, the son of Adam must suffer many things and be rejected of the elders and the chief priests and the scribes and be slain and be raised the third day. Will you highlight and put in the margin who rejected him? Who rejected? According to his own testimony, who rejected him? He didn't say all the Jews rejected him. That's a lie they keep telling us. The Constantine Christian keeps saying. All those who believe in replacement theology. That's the error lie. The counter to replacement theology. You had the counter to eternal security earlier. Now we got the counter to replacement theology. Verse 23. And he said to them all, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself. You highlight. See, being temperate is a life of denial of self. Denying what you want to do, what you feel like doing, what you think you should do. Denying yourself. That's a life of temperance. Every athlete knows you can't eat a certain way if you're trying to win a championship. Boxers know this full well. They got to make weight. So they have to be temperate in their diet. They just can't eat anything. They live a life of self-denial. They understand this quite precisely. If they want to be in their proper weight for the chance to win the title, for a chance to overcome, they must deny themselves. They must deny a piece of pie or a piece of cake or an extra piece of this or that. They must watch what they eat, watch what they drink, watch where they go, watch how they train, watch how much sleep they get. They live a life of self-denial. And they do so to receive a corruptible crown, to get the belts. Those things are going to be destroyed in their using. But you and I live a life of self-denial, not to get a corruptible crown, but to get an incorruptible crown, which will never fade away. All praises. I'll read it one more time. Luke chapter 9, verse 23. And he said unto them all, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross daily. Now the cross is an instrument of death. Remember the Apostle Paul just said in 1 Corinthians 15, I die daily. The cross is an instrument of death. When you're crucified, they're not punishing you, they're killing you. And we're going to read in a little bit what about you needs to be crucified. What about you that needs to be put to death if you're going to live a temperate life. But this is just the overall principle. Luke chapter 9, verse 23 again, and he said unto them all, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it. Highlight that. And here's another proof text to unravel yet another Constantine Christianity doctrine or dogma. They don't have any doctrine, they just got dogma. Messiah don't want your life. If you seek to save your life, you're going to lose it. They tell you every week, come give your heart to Christ. Give your life to Christ. He doesn't want your life. He told you to lose your life if you wish to save it. I'll read it again. Luke chapter 9, verse 24. And whosoever will save his life shall lose it. But whosoever will lose his life for my sake, the same shall save it. You got to lose it. You got to lose your life in order to save it. 4, verse 25. Luke 9:25. For what is a man's advantage if he gain the whole world and lose himself, or be cast away? Remember I told you online, cast away? When Paul said in 1 Corinthians, I preach unto others, I myself be a castaway. I told you online, castaway, could it come back? Here it is, Luke. So what advantage you got? You gain the whole world and you lose yourself or become a castaway. Forgive me for just my chair. I'll read verse 25 again. And what is a man advantage if he gain the whole world and lose himself, or be cast away? For whosoever shall be ashamed of me and of my words, of him shall the Son of Adam be ashamed, when he shall come in his own glory and in his Father's and of the QADASH WA angels. We highlight. See, if you run away from Yeshua's words about denying yourself, about taking up your instrument of death daily. See, the Apostle Paul knew this principle very well. He wasn't even following Yeshua when he said it, but he knew it. He said, I die daily. He said, what are you rejoicing about? I die daily. Yeshua asked you, what does it advantage you if you gain everything in the world and lose yourself or be a castaway? Paul said, I keep my body under, that way so I won't preach to others and I myself be a castaway. You got to be temperate. You got to be self-controlled in your thoughts, in your words, and in your deeds, or you're going to lose yourself. You're going to lose your life. You're not going to receive the incorruptible crown of life. You're going to be a castaway. So run the race to win it. Fight, but don't shadow box. Now let's see from the scriptures what needs to be crucified, what needs to be put down. And this crucifixion has to be with Yeshua. You have to think of yourself as being crucified with Yeshua, just like the great apostle Paul thought of himself crucified with Yeshua. You got to see yourself on that cross. You got to see yourself on that tree. And I'm not talking about yourself in Yeshua. No. I'm talking about that filthy, nasty sinner you and I used to be. That's the one that gets crucified. We're going to see that too in a moment. Turn with me to Galatians chapter 2. Thank you for your patience. Galatians chapter 2. Let's start reading at verse 17. But if, while we seek to be justified by Messiah, we ourselves also are found sinners, is therefore Messiah the minister of sin? Allahayim forbid. We highlight. So you can't seek to be justified or made righteous by belief and faith in Yeshua Messiah and be a sinner too. You trying to make Yeshua the minister of sin. He's not the minister of sin. He's the minister of righteousness. He's the one that brought righteousness to light. He put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. He made it possible for you never again to walk in sin. You're called to walk in the light with the Father as he is in the light. And it said the blood of Yeshua, his son, cleanses us of all sin. That's the only place in the New Testament where it talks about the blood of Yeshua being applied. You have to be walking in the light, walking in righteousness with the Father. That's when you get cleansed from your sin. You can't be walking in sin and get cleansed from it at the same time. I'll read it one more time. Galatians chapter 2, verse 17. But while we seek to be justified by Messiah, we ourselves also are found sinners. Is therefore Messiah the minister of sin? Allahim forbid. For if I build again the things which I have destroyed, I make myself a transgressor. We highlight. See, so many, here we go again with dismantling Constantine Christianity dogma. This I'm an old sinner saved by grace crap. Here's the verse to dismantle that. If you build again that which you've destroyed, you make yourself a transgressor. If while you seek to be justified by Messiah, you're still a sinner, you're trying to make Yeshua the minister of sin, Allah forbid. You can't build your old self again. Your old self got to be crucified, put to death. You got to take up your cross daily. You got to take up your instrument of death daily. You got to die, as the great apostle Paul, writing under the inspiration of the Ruach HaKodesh, you have to die daily. I read verse 18 again. Galatians chapter 2, verse 18. For if I build again the things which I have destroyed, I make myself a transgressor. For I through the teaching am dead to the teachings, that I might live unto Ahiah. I am crucified with Messiah. Nevertheless I live, not yet I, but Messiah lives in me. We highlight. Paul is crucified. He put to death with Messiah. Paul dead. He said, it's not I'm that's living, but Messiah's living in me. Brother Holly dead. I was crucified on a hill called Golgotha over 2,000 years ago. Brother Holly dead. The dead man talking to you. And the life I'm living, just like the great apostle Paul, it ain't me anymore. It's Yeshua in me. Oh, praises. Let's read. Hopefully this is true of you as well. For all of you who are seeking to win the race of life and be crowned with the crown of everlasting life, with the incorruptible crown, you're going to have to be temperate or self-controlled. You're going to have to die every day, and this is how it's done. I am crucified. Galatians chapter 2, verse 20. I am crucified with Messiah. Nevertheless, I live. Yet not I, but Messiah live in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of Ahiah, who loved me and gave himself for me. I live this life by that faith. Now, the great apostle Paul, whom we trust, define what the faith of Yeshua is in the book of Acts when he was talking to Felix. He referred to, or the writer of Acts referred to, when Paul was speaking to Felix, that the faith of Yeshua was righteousness, temperance, and the judgment to come. Those three attributes encompass the faith of Yeshua. And we're to live by those three attributes. We're to live with a clear understanding that we have to live righteous. We are to live with a clear understanding. And hopefully this broadcast will help you maintain that clear understanding that you got to live completely 100% self-controlled. With the understanding that there's a judgment to come. That's the faith of Yeshua. Righteousness, temperance, and the judgment to come. I read verse 20 again. Galatians 2:20. I am crucified with Messiah. Nevertheless, I live, yet not I, but Messiah lives in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of Ahiah, who loved me and gave himself for me. I do not frustrate the grace of Elohim, for righteousness comes by the teachings, then Messiah is dead in vain. With y'all light. If righteousness came by animal sacrifice, then what did Messiah die for? If you could have been cleansed from your sin by the blood of bulls and goats, then he dead in vain. But we have a clear understanding. We have a clear teaching from the book of Hebrews that the blood of bulls and goats could never take away sin, but the blood of Yeshua could. Oh, praises. For he is the one sacrifice forever for sin. Period. So you and I, once purged, it says in Hebrews chapter 10, shall have no more consciousness of sin. Another verse for all those, well, I'm just an old sinner saved by grace. If you were saved by grace, you shouldn't have any more consciousness of sin. You can't be both. You're frustrating the grace. Wow. My brothers and sisters, this is another aside. Say, quote it. Galatians chapter 2, verse 20. Quote that about yourself until you get it. Quote it every day, several times a day, until you understand, until it becomes part of your fabric, the fabric of your being. See yourself crucified. And we're going to read in just a moment what was crucified with Christ. What was crucified Messiah? Your old man was crucified. My old man, the former self, was crucified. Old dusty, busted Brother Holly was crucified. She's going to describe what I was like, what you were like, what we're all alike. Turn with me to Colossians chapter 3. Quickly. Thank you for your patience. Moving through these things. I should have marked it. For that, I apologize. Colossians chapter 3. Let's start reading at verse 5. It says, mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth, fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, or having affection for things you shouldn't want, evil conspicuousness, and covetousness, which is idolatry. Highlight. For which things sake the wrath of Ahiah cometh upon the children of disobedience, in the which ye also walked sometime when you lived in them. Verse 8. Colossians 3:8. But now you also put off all these: anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth. Lie not one to another, seeing that you have put off the old man with his deeds, and have put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge after the image of him that created him. Now verse 11 seems to be stuck in there, but we'll read it. Because it's just a different thought being communicated. And verse 12 picks it up again. You'll see what I mean. I'll read verse 10 again. Colossians 3:10. And have put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge after the image of him that created him, where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Sicilian, bond or free, but Messiah is all in and all. That just seems so out of place right there. You could say that for the end of the verse, but the end of the chapter. But anyway, verse 12. Put on therefore as the elect of Ahiah, QADASH WA, and beloved, bowels of mercy. Because it's just telling you to put on the new man. Now it's describing some attributes of the new man. You see how verse 11 seems out of place? It tells you to put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge, and then it starts describing some of the attributes of the new man. Some of the things that you have as a new man. I'll read verse 10 again. and having put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge after the image of him that created him. Now verse 12. But put on therefore as the elect of Ahia, QADASH WA, and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long-suffering, forbearing one another, and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Messiah forgave you, so also do ye. And above all things, put on charity, which is the bond of perfectness. Verse 15, Colossians 3:15, and let the peace of Ahia rule in your hearts, to which you were also called in one body, and be ye thankful. Let the word of Messiah dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to Ahia. And whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of Yeshua, the Master Yeshua, giving thanks to Ahia and the Father by him. We highlight. You can't sin and do that in the name of Yeshua, can you? It says, whatever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of Yeshua. You can't lie in the name of Yeshua. You can't steal in the name of Yeshua. You can't commit adultery in the name of Yeshua. You can't fornicate in the name of Yeshua. You can't be angry. You can't speak filthy communications out of your mouth in the name of Yeshua. But you can be kind in the name of Yeshua. You can be temperate in the name of Yeshua. You can be good in the name of Yeshua. You can do those things. You can be peaceful in the name of Yeshua. Of course you can. See how it works? The old man was crucified. New man was resurrected. The new man was raised from the dead. Read that in Romans chapter 6. That's your homework assignment. The death of the old man and the resurrection of the new. Romans chapter 6 talks about it. But suffice to say, for this broadcast, we see that you got to mortify. You got to put to death the old man and his deeds. The old man and his deeds must be put to death. Uncleanness must be put to death. Inordinate affection must be put to death. Covetousness must be put to death. Lying must be put to death. Fornication must be put to death. Why? These things bring the wrath of Ahia on you. These things tend toward death. But being kind, being righteous, being temperate, being good, being merciful, forgiving others. These things tend toward life. These things tend toward receiving the incorruptible crown. Oh, praises. You're not going to win the race, children, if you're not temperate. You're not going to win the race, children, if you don't die daily. You're not going to win the race, children, if you don't crucify your old man. If you don't crucify yourself and lose that life that you may gain the life of Yeshua. He doesn't want your old life. He wants to give you life and in abundance. Oh, praises! Last verse. Let's read 2 Peter chapter 1. Let's start reading verse 1. 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 1. It says, Simon Peter, a servant and an apostle of Yeshua Messiah, to them which have obtained like precious faith with us through the righteousness of Ahia and our Savior Yeshua Messiah. Grace and peace be multiplied unto you through the knowledge of Ahia and of Yeshua our Master, according as his divine power has given unto us all things that pertain to life and Ahiadness, through the knowledge of him that has called us to glory and virtue, whereby are given unto us exceeding great and precious promises, that by these we might be partakers of the divine nature, having escaped the corruption that is in the world through lust. We highlight. We have a promise that we're going to partake of his divine nature. All praises. And we know the promises are reserved for the children of Yashua, according to Romans chapter 9. Just an aside. And besides this, giving all diligence, add to your faith virtue, and to virtue knowledge. We highlight virtue as moral excellence, being highly moral, and add to your morality or high character knowledge, and to knowledge temperance or self-control. We highlight. You have to add temperance or being self-control to your knowledge, to being moral, to faith, and to temperance, patience. Which is one of the power triplets. We're going to talk about patience in a later broadcast of how it wills it be so. And to patience, a hardness. And to a hardness, brotherly kindness. And to brotherly kindness, charity or love. For if these things be in you and abound, they make you that ye shall neither be barren nor unfruitful in the knowledge of our Master Yeshua Messiah. We highlight. If you have these things, you won't be barren or unfruitful in the knowledge of Yeshua. But he that lacks these things is blind. Highlight. And cannot see afar off, and have forgotten that he was purged from his old sins. Highlight, underline, triple highlight. See, if you lack patience, if you lack temperance, if you lack knowledge, if you lack more excellence, if you lack faith, if you lack kindness, if you lack love, you'll forget you've been purged. Remember when we quoted Hebrews chapter, I believe it's chapter 10, that once purged, you should have no more conscience of sin. You can't be an old sinner saved by grace. You frustrate the grace talking like that. We read that just a few moments ago in Galatians chapter 2. Last verse, 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 10. Wherefore the rather, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and election sure. For if you do these things, you shall never fall. If you do these things, you shall never fall. And verse 11. For so an entrance shall be ministered unto you abundantly. Where? Into the everlasting kingdom of our Master and Savior, Yeshua Messiah. Highlight, triple highlight, and underline. All praises. You want to get into the kingdom? You want to receive the incorruptible crown of everlasting life? You have to cultivate temperance. You have to die every day. You got to do what Yeshua said. You got to take up your cross daily and follow him. All praise to the Most High, Ahia, and to his son, Yeshua, the Messiah. Alleluia.